Hey everyone, it's your girl Whitney and welcome to With the Messenger. This will be an astrological forecast for the new moon in Pisces. I recorded a video yesterday, but unfortunately I didn't realize there was a square to Jupiter in Gemini happening to this lunation, so I had to redo it. So quick astrological overview, timestamps will be in the description box below as well as the comment section. If you're new to astrology, if you want to learn more how to cast your natal chart, there is a video tutorial in my description box that I did on how to cast your natal birth chart, and it just gives you some tips and tricks about the basics of astrology, so just so you could have a foundation and you could follow along. Personal readings are available. That link is also in the description box below for my booking form. Each personal reading comes with astrological side of it, okay? Because I ask your sun, moon, and rising, or at least your birth time if you don't know how to cast that information yourself, right? And I just try to weave that into the story of the reading for you a bit, okay? So this is happening at 9 degrees Pisces. I want you to think back to February 28th of 2024. There was the Saturn cazimi as well as Saturn conjunct Mercury at the same 9 degrees in the sign of Pisces, okay? So back then, you got more information about something in related to your Pisces whole sign house. This is tropical astrology and I'm using whole sign houses. So you got some information back then about your Pisces house, and you realize that there's a bit more demands on you about what it is that you want to accomplish or what it is that you have to accomplish as it relates to your Pisces whole sign house. Now the North Node is here in your sign of Pisces. Saturn is still here, but it's getting ready to move by the summer, and we're having this lunation just before the start of eclipse season. It's conjunct a very fortunate fixed star. That Saturn cazimi was also conjunct the same fixed star, so the good fortune is being activated again. It's just thankfully this time Saturn isn't exactly at this degree. It's still in the sign of Pisces, but it's not exactly at this degree, okay? The other aspect is a square to Jupiter in Gemini. And so this square is asking you from your Gemini house where you need to think larger than life, where you perhaps need to dig a bit deeper, or do what is just, what is fair, expand your mind, shift your perspective a little bit, right? Those are all Jupiterian themes. There are a conjunction to 5 asteroids. We have Child, Freya, Gabriella, Cassandra, and Hercules. So Cassandra definitely has to do with prophecy, intuitive dreams. So this is a time where those who are of intuitive nature could be channeling a lot of downloads. The asteroid Child, that has to do with creativity, curiosity, innocence. It's about expression. It definitely is about conception. So I would say people with Scorpio rising or Scorpio moons, Pisces moon, Pisces rising, children could become a theme of center for you all. Freya and Gabriella is more about harmony and beauty, which I really like, because the star Scott that is being conjuncted with this lunation, it is about personal charm. It is about good fortune and lasting happiness. So I do feel like there's a bit of peace, a bit of ease that is trying to come to your Pisces whole sign house now, and I'm sure we could all use it after what Saturn has been doing there. Right? Scott also has to do with psychic interest and occult interest, and we have Cassandra as well that is here at that 9 degree marker too. So definitely people who have those psychic gifts and abilities, or are interested in the occult or esoteric knowledge, this could be a great time for them to channel knowledge. This is be a great time for them to put out content, put out what they have been channeling, right? Hercules is about strength and courage, and if you do the hard thing, you could really see some personal transformation in your Pisces house, okay? The Sapien symbol for this is an aviator in the clouds, which I found so interesting with all that's been happening with, all these flights and stuff like that. Pisces does have to do with water. So this is about sailing through difficulties, seeking higher truths, and on the negative side, it's about escaping responsibilities, avoiding responsibilities, in reality, even drug abuse. Okay, now I did say last year when this Saturn Kazemi happened on this degree that for those who finally stood up and took accountability where necessary, they would see the they would reap the benefits of it by the time the next Saturn Kazemi came around. Okay. All right. I think that's enough. We're going to go into individual signs, starting with Aries. Aries, so this donation is happening in your 12th house with a square to Jupiter in your 3rd house. Of course, your mind is being triggered by Jupiter to expand a bit, right? The 3rd house does have to do with our mental processes, the way that we think about things, the way that we communicate, the type of people that we come in contact with on a day-to-day basis. So whether that be extended family members, immediate family members, siblings, cousins, aunts, nieces, nephews, people in our community, people that we see in commute to and from wherever we're going to. Okay. Marketing, the internet, news, media, stuff like that. And then the 12th house does have to do with loss. It has to do with self-sabotaging tendencies. It has to do with escapism. Okay, so for you all, specifically Aries, I would say try to avoid any type of drug use around this time. I don't think that it will be very beneficial for you. But what I would say about how this could play out for you, if you are into marketing, this could be a time where you could change your strategy with that square to Jupiter in your 3rd house, change the way you communicate, change the way that you think about something, and then when you put it out, you perhaps garner more support from people in foreign places, because the 12th house does represent foreign lands. This could also be where you could have a breakthrough, I feel, and I think you're going to see this more when Mars goes into Leo. That's going to be, I believe, in April, in terms of expression, right? Because the 12th house has to do with our self-sabotaging tendencies, the way that we communicate in a subconscious way. It's like if you're not really paying attention and you're just running on autopilot mode, you're not really realizing what at a subconscious level is driving the things that you say and the way that you think, right? So if you could have a breakthrough there with that square to Jupiter in your 3rd house, perhaps it could be someone from your 3rd house that challenges that perspective of you, someone that you talk to every day, a family member, someone in your community, something that you read in the local media or newspaper or online that challenges the way that you think, and then that brings some type of breakthrough for you. But of course, squares are the nature of Mars. It's not very comfortable, but nonetheless, it's for your benefit. You know what I mean? Not they're in your 12th house. It's saying that some of you need to really pay attention to your dreams, your intuitive gifts and abilities. I feel like everyone has it. It's just that so many people have so much gunk and programming that's ingrained within them that they're not really able to easily tap into it. So I feel with the North Node there in your 12th house now, it's a time for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising folks to start to tap into their intuitive ability. But of course, that means clearing out the gutter of your subconscious mind to be more in tune with your higher self, right? Like the Sabian symbol said, seeking higher truths, okay? And that may come more internal for you all than external. With the square to Jupiter, it may just be triggered by someone external, but this will be more internal for you. And I think that could create more lasting happiness, especially if you have any placements in Pisces around 9 degrees, okay? Moving on to Taurus. Taurus, this is happening in your 11th house with a square to Jupiter in your 2nd house. This is about your long-term gains. It's Simply put, this is about the money that you make. The second house is an I have house. That's where Jupiter is. Jupiter has been trying to expand your assets and what you have. But with the square to the new moon in your 11th house, there could become a focus on the people that you associate with, the things that you see in the online world, the goals and dreams that you have for yourself, and how that could potentially be changing, especially with the North Node now in your 11th house. I mean, Saturn has been there since 2023, or was it 2024? I think it was early 2024. But Saturn has been there trying to mature you a bit, right? It's been putting some demands on you. I don't like to see, just for the structuring of my moment, I don't like to see Saturn as restrictions. I prefer to see it as demands. You may not like the demands that Saturn brings in, but definitely, you know, putting in that hard work could bring about necessary rewards in the long run for you, right? Because Saturn kind of plays the long game. That's why they say people with Capricorn and Aquarius, heavy placements, they tend to see fruition of certain dreams, love, etc. in their 30s, right? Because Saturn plays that long game. So for you all, Saturn is trying to make you see now the gains that you could have if you've been putting in the work from your 11th house as it relates to the dreams, wishes that you have, the aspirations that you have. If you have a business that you've been trying to grow, that could be represented by the 11th house also. This could be a time where good fortune is placed upon that, where your personal charm helps you to unlock more, okay? The 11th house is also a house of blessings, okay? Think about the star in astrology now, in tarot, all right? So because we also have asteroids activated like Gabriella and Freya and Child there in your 11th house, what creative business venture or what creative hobby can you use that you have? Some of you, this may be something that had been passed down through your family line too. Can you have to really gain long-lasting happiness as well as good fortune in the long run, right? Some of you, because of Freya and Gabriella, is it, and you're very Venusian in nature, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, could it be some type of business where you beautify something, whether it's you want to be an interior designer or a stylist or a makeup artist, okay? This is a time for you to really plant those seeds, and you can see the fruition of this within 6 months from now, which is around Virgo season, when we have that lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces, okay? So do the groundwork, plant the seeds now, okay? Some of you may have to use what you have. This is what the squares of Jupiter may be. Some of you may have to use what you have to get what it is that you want. It may have to be a necessary sacrifice there, okay? Moving on to Gemini. Gemini, this is happening in your 10th house with a square to Jupiter in your 1st house. So Jupiter has definitely been trying to expand you, expand your identity, expand your place in the world, expand your personal image, okay? And Jupiter is most naturally the ruler of Pisces in traditional astrology. So I feel for you all, especially with the North Node now in your 10th house, your reputation, your public image, your status, it's about to seriously do a 180. Even if you're in good standing now, I feel like there's even greater standing that you could be. And with Scott being activated here, the personal charm that you exude, you know, you're about to have, I feel, more doors open for you, especially if you're one of the Gemini placements that has been doing the internal work that Jupiter asked of someone, because Jupiter does care about things that are moral, things that are just, things that are fair, right? Jupiter cares about you expanding your knowledge, you know, and as a Gemini, you love to self-study, right? So if you've been doing all these things, this is now where that good fortune is activating your 10th house, with people in places of authority, with people who are leaders, with because the 10th house is so public, just with the public, right? Like they could see, you know, maybe all that knowledge that you've been studying and gathering, you put that out now in some way, you display your wealth of knowledge and, you know, your personal charm and charisma added to it. That brings you, it could bring you the necessary audience, because the 7th house is ruled by Jupiter for you. So it could bring you necessary audience, client, customers that you need. Perhaps even partner, committed partner. If some of you are with someone, this could be where marriage takes place and then your status change, because a lot of people think status only has to do with career in the 10th house, but status has to do with whatever you are known by. So whether you're known as a husband or a wife or a mother or a father, you know, child is being activated there too. So perhaps your place as a parent takes more center stage for you, even if you don't have children yet, or even if you do have children. Okay, give me 1 second. So if there are certain things about yourself that you have to accept, perhaps a authority figure or a father figure tries to give you some harsh truths, this could be a time where you really need to accept that, right? Don't avoid the responsibility of it. Unfortunately for some of you all, if you have been going down the wrong path, especially with drug abuse, okay, this could be a time where it becomes very public, and then there's some type of intervention that is necessary. All right, we're gonna move on to Cancer. Give me 1 second. Okay, Cancer, this is happening in your 9th house, the illumination, with a square to Jupiter in your 12th house. So I do feel for some of you all this has to do with travel. Okay, perhaps you may need to travel for work, for higher education. I mean, if some of you, it could be for some of you all where you maybe become a teacher, a guru, a mentor in some aspect, right? And you have to travel for it. Like maybe you get the job in a foreign place, or you get married, because the 9th house could have to do with marriages, and maybe it's to a foreigner, okay, or someone from a different culture, or someone who lives far away, even if it's of the same race or culture, and you have to travel for that. Some of you all, it could be maybe for a surgery. Another reason why I'm saying that is because the 12th house does have to do like hospitalization. So that may not be for all of you all, but maybe for a few it resonates, okay? Some of you may need to learn a foreign language because you're traveling to somewhere, or you're going to relocate to somewhere that speaks a different language from you. The square to Jupiter, squares are nature of Mars, so it's not something comfortable. It's something that forces you to make a decision and move outside of your comfort zone. And I'm smiling because I know a client of mine who's a Cancer rising, who I know he's been having some difficulty moving outside his comfort zone. The 9th house also has to do with your perspective, your philosophy, your belief system, your morals. You know, Jupiter rules the 9th house in traditional astrology, and Jupiter is there in your 12th house. So it's asking you to break free from some established programmings and even some established patterns when it comes to how you self-sabotage yourself. Okay, the 12th house is a house also of laws. In traditional Vedic astrology, the 9th house could have to do with a father figure, so that may resonate for some of you all. Okay, there could be some changes there. From your 9th house to creativity, beauty, harmony, intuition, prophecy, these are all things that are being activated with this new moon. And so maybe you could start to teach a course, makeup artists, to cook. You know, Cancers are very great cooks, to cook. Because harmony is involved too, and love with Freya. It could be maybe some of you become a love coach or a marriage counselor. For who that fits, right? Or you could take up studies, because the ninth house could have to do with study. And it doesn't only have to be formal study. Ninth house is also self-study. Okay, so Scott is also being activated, which has to do with psychic interest and occult interest. It could also have to do with like astrology. So maybe you may choose to take up the self-study, and that probably puts you in a space of isolation, not because people cast you out, but because you're dedicating so much of your time to this. I will say, with Scott being activated in your ninth house, this could be where your personal charm and where good fortune is activated, because the ninth house is a Dharma house that has to do with good karma. This could be a time where you attract the right mentors, gurus, and teachers to you, and that unlocks so many doors for you. Okay, so keep that in mind. And pay attention to your dreams, because the 12th house is activated in this lunation with that Jupiter energy there with a square. So you could really get some serious downloads and insights. So try to write down your dreams. It may not make sense immediately, but in time it will. Okay, moving on to Leos. Leo, this is happening in your 8th house with a square to Jupiter in your 11th house. If you have a business venture that you share with someone, or that you are thinking about sharing with someone, that could come into focus. I want to say that because the 11th house does have to do with long-term gains from our career or our goals, wishes, dreams, and aspiration. This is a much more internal process for you, though, I feel, with this 8th house energy. I do feel for you all, and I'm telling you the same thing that I told Aries: stay away from any type of substance for this lunation and the weeks following this lunation. Try to go at things sober, because it is a house that is activated for you that has to do with like escapism and addictions. And you know, in the darkness of the moon, there's a lot that could come to the surface. I know people think that it's only the full moons that can dredge up so much, but in the darkness of the moon, there is more that can come up. I also feel like for you all specifically, there's been a lot that's been happening for fire signs in terms, and earth signs in terms of their moksha houses being activated. And it's just to allow you to break free from the things that are keeping you a bit restrained, and a bit limited within your belief system, like any type of scarcity mindset, any type of self-sabotaging patterns and tendencies, stuff like that. Okay, and it's also gonna be ring so true for you in the second half of the year when Jupiter moves into your 12th house. Okay, so get used to the discomfort of really sitting in your feelings. I know you're a fire sign, you're mostly driven by passion, but or impulsive natures, but definitely with your water sign house is activated, it's going to ask you to slow down and go a bit more inwards. Okay, and so what is it then with the 8th house that you could create from what you've experienced or what you've learned? Okay, because you know, we could learn from the struggles, we could learn through the struggles, and there are asteroids being activated there that has to do with creativity, has to do with innocence. It's what you allow yourself to do uninhibited. Okay, what you feel free to do uninhibited. I do feel that with Heracles as well, if you have the courage and the strength to push through whatever it is that comes up through your 8th house, then there's great potential for transformation there for you all. A sibling, one older than you, may be significant in this process just because the 11th house is activated. So if you do have an elder sibling, good fortune is trying to be activated for you in this 8th house, especially if you have any placements there. And happiness, some of you could get some money that you didn't expect. Okay, people could not want to give to you. Your personal charm could could have people want to show up and to give to you as well. Because Cat is being activated and Cassandra is also there, the 8th house does have to do with esoteric knowledge and occult knowledge. This could definitely be a time where you are thrown into that just by curiosity or by the downloads that are coming to you. You could create a business out of this with the 11th house being activated with this square. But of course, because of the square, it may be like you going outside your comfort zone to share things that normally maybe you've been observing, you know, but you just keep it in, or just tell a few trusted few. You can now bring that into the online world. Virgo, this is happening in your angular houses, your 7th house and 7th, and a square to Jupiter and Gemini in your 10th house. I will say for you all, your status could be changing. If you're married, you could become divorced within the next 6 months. If you are in a committed relationship, you could become married. If you're single, you could get into a committed relationship. What you're known for could definitely be changing. And because child is there in your 7th house, especially if your partner bears eggs, they could become pregnant, and then your status could be changing to you being known as a parent, okay? Or you could be adopting, okay, because child is activated too. Your partner's fortune could change your fortune, simply because the good charm is the good fortune and personal charm is being activated there in the 7th house, and that is normally represented by the people of the 7th house. So let's say, for instance, we have your partner has their own business, or they get some type of promotion at work, you know, somehow this trickles down to favor being bestowed upon you also. If you have any interest in the occult, or you're intuitive of nature, this could be where you're known for this much more, where clients decide or customers decide to refer you to other people. They give you good reviews, you know, because again, that's that 7th house energy. And so it's like the people from the 7th house bringing you that good fortune, okay? Anything else? Whatever you're being known for in the 10th house, though, I do feel like it's just going to take you outside of your comfort zone. It's like someone from your 7th house is really putting more emphasis on you and making you more public somehow. So whether it's a client or a customer or a business partner bringing more business to you, or a romantic partner saying, okay, let's take this to the next level somehow, whether that's you become in a committed relationship, you become married, or you become in divorce, you know, it's the people from the 7th house that is creating the change for you in the 10th house, and it's just been very public there, okay? Contracts could be involved for you all somehow, because the 7th house is involved, and we have the 10th house there, so that could be contracts in terms of work. It could be contracts in terms of even if it's like a divorce paper, right? Okay, moving along. I mean, the North Node is there in your 7th house, so your partnerships, they are changing. And the people who are more meant to be on your journey at this stage, at least, are coming into your life now, and the ones who aren't are exiting, okay? Libra, this is happening in your 6th house. With a square to Jupiter in your 9th house. The 6th house is a very challenging house, so it's good that Scat, you know, that has to do with good fortune, lasting happiness, is being activated for you out there. It's going to bring a bit of ease to your day-to-day life, okay? And with the square to Jupiter in your 9th house, I do feel like that could either have to do with HR, because the 9th house could be HR, or a mentor or a guru or a teacher. I feel like they're just going to be requiring more of you, Okay, and so what you're doing on a day-to-day basis with that sixth house energy there is changing, and you're gonna have to possibly be expressing yourself more, literally just communicating more. You're gonna have to be more creative, you know, with Child and Free and Gabriella there, even Hercules, you know, having courage and strength, and to allow for some type of transformation, and that's happening in your sixth house, that transformation. Okay, so it could be creativity as it comes to a career. It could be creativity as it comes to or beauty as it comes to your physical health, and you changing what you do every day so that you could see some results a few months from now. You remember this takes 6 months to play out. And it could all be because your mindset is shifting with Jupiter there in your ninth house. Your mindset is changing, it's expanding. There could be others outside of you that is triggering this. It could be also just internal because you're self-studying or because you're making some type of study. Some of you, for work, maybe things change a little bit because you need to enter into a course of study. And that's a challenge, so to speak. Maybe you've been out of school for some time. That's a challenge that it is now placed upon you. Okay, and like I said, for some of you, it could just be literally HR that is putting some, you know, red tape, a little bit of red tape there, right, yellow tape at least, saying, okay, this is the line that you have to toe in order to do this. Remember, the North Node has now moved into your sixth house too, so your purpose and the way you wake up every day, and how the purpose that you have in life, or at least what you feel drives you to wake up every day, that will be changing over the next year and a half. Okay, moving on to Scorpios. Scorpio, this is happening in your fifth house with a square to Jupiter in Gemini in your eighth house. Two interesting houses, I will say, because the eighth house does have to do with like good karma, you know, it's a dharma house, and then the eighth house is more of a moksha house, which does have to do with like release and surrender. Some of you may have to let go a little bit of control when it comes to a child, because the fifth house does have to do with children. Some of you, because child is activated in their fifth house, you may have to overcome a trauma when it comes to becoming a parent, okay, or being a parent, because some of you may conceive or your partner may conceive. Okay, so that you may have to face a bit of fear there, right? The eighth house also have to do with our fears. I do feel for some of you, especially since we'll have a Venus and Mercury retrograde in your fifth house, some of you may have to go through a bit of ego debt when it comes to romantic and love relations. I know that might not be easy to hear, but it's the truth. All right. And some of you are going to have to face attachment styles that were developed in your childhood. I do feel because Scott is being activated in your fifth house. If you're a single Scorpio, you could definitely meet someone within 6 months from now. Okay, and this person may be different in a way that expands your mind. Okay, and the intimacy may also feel different. It might feel like it's bringing you out of your comfort zone, which is again weird to say because you're Scorpio. You naturally have association with the eighth house. This should be your comfort zone, right? But again, I feel like for some of you all, maybe it just has to do with a little bit of ego debt, or it's just deeper shadow work. All right, but harmony is trying to come into your love life. Harmony is trying to come in the lives of a child if you have children. Love is trying to come in there too. Children are trying to come in there for you. If you have interest in the occult, or if you're intuitive in nature, which I feel almost all Scorpios are, this is a time where perhaps you put out more content, especially if you're a content maker with that fifth house there that has to do with expression. This could be a time where you definitely should put out what it is that you've been channeling and downloaded. It may feel like it's like maybe the current audience that you have, or the new audience that will come your way. No, let me say it this way. It may feel like the current audience that you have, you don't know if they would accept what it is that you have to present or how you have to present, but just do it. And the people who are meant to come along will. Remember, there's an element of personal charm with Scott being activated there in your fifth house that will be placed on you when it comes to expression. Okay, I also feel that you could potentially have you could potentially have a romantic partner who wants to spend on you. Okay, because the eighth houses have to do with shared resources. All right. Oh, I say that some of you all, this could be where you're getting child support or alimony from an ex. because we do have the 5th house there, and the 8th house again has to be with not money that you necessarily work on a day-to-day basis for, though people would, you know, argue that being a mother or a father, that is work in itself. But I'm just saying, like, it's not your day job, right? It's not your career. Okay, so this could be where you're also either petitioning to get that money, or you're having to ask for more. I'm just saying petitioning or ask for more because there's a square there. Okay, so it might not feel comfortable for you to do. Okay, but I do feel, because Jupiter is present and, you know, we have Scott there, I do feel that you will get it. Yeah, I don't think that will be a problem for you all. All right. Okay, moving along. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, this is happening in your 4th house and 7th house respectively, and your ruler, Jupiter, is involved in this, in your 7th house, with a square to the lunation in your 4th house. There's things that are changing in your home life. You could have a partner moving in, or you could break up and have a partner moving out, or you're moving out. Your home life could be expanding because child is being activated there in that 4th house. The North Node is there, so you could have an expansion in your life, right? Of course, in this case, the trigger is coming from whoever is represented by the 7th house for you. That could be a second child, okay? And that second child entering into the home, and that just changing the home dynamics a bit, but it's good, you know, it's good fortune, it's lasting happiness, it's personal charm. Okay, I also feel for some of you all, this could be contracts as it relates to a home. So whether you're getting a mortgage, selling a home, a new rental property, because 7th house does have to deal with contracts. In your 6th house, you have Taurus energy, so that's a bit of shake up there, Uranus energy. All right. Some of you all could be trying to beautify your house, okay? And again, perhaps that's where contracts comes in. Maybe you'll need to go to a lending institution if necessary, okay, to beautify your house. Some of you could, I don't know, maybe some of you could be having some type of job where you're bringing clients to your house. The 7th house is represented by clients and customers too. But definitely, you know, Heracle's there in the 4th house. You put strength and courage when it comes to changes as it relates to your 4th house matters, whether it's your family that comes from you or the family that you come from, or your home and your property, and you will definitely see major transformation there. So like I said, for some of you all, the 7th house does represent a second child, so that could have to do with a second child that is instituting the change. But again, it's not bad change. Okay, all right. Capricorn, this is happening in your 3rd house with a square to Jupiter in your 6th house. What you do on a daily basis is changing, possibly even where you go. If you have your floating IC in your 3rd house, you could be moving, okay? You could be changing community, and so it's like where you travel every day, it changes. Some of you could be having to do something with a car. With this 3rd house energy, maybe you get a new car, you know. The 6th house, I feel, could also have to do with like some repair work. So it's like a good second-hand car then. That's what I was trying to say. It's like a good second-hand car. Or maybe one of you have like a passion project into, like, you know those people who really like to fix cars, so they like buy a car and then they fix it up. Maybe for some of you all that is the case. The 3rd house does have to do with our mind, the way we think, the way we communicate with others. It has to do with the neighborhood that we live in, what we read in the media. It has to do with marketing, okay? So if you have a business, this may be a time where you change your marketing strategies, and that brings in very good fortune for you. Some of you may have to do a short course of study with that 3rd house and 6th house, and that just puts like a different element to what you're doing on a day-to-day. Maybe every day you have to do like an hour study or an hour of online classes or something like that. Some of you could be forced to join your local gym, just because the sixth house is involved, and sixth house does have to do with health, and then the third house does have to do with like the local community, right? But again, because it's a square, it's like something that you haven't been doing, something that you have to be forced to make a decision to be made, and something that puts you out of your comfort zone. Okay, the North Node is also in your third house, so the way that you're expressing yourself, the way you're communicating, that's definitely changing. Your mind is expanding a bit. I feel a short trip, because third house does have to do with short distance trips, so a short trip could be kind of transformational for you at this time. If you do have an interest in the occult and esoteric, this would be a great time to do divination work for you all, especially because Scott is activated. Okay, and the third house does have to do with divination practices. That's why Gemini is associated with the magician, and Mercury is associated with the magician in tarot. Moving on, Aquarius, this is happening in your second house with a square to Jupiter in your fifth house. The second house is about what you have, whether it's money, whether it's assets, whether it's skills and abilities. So I do feel what you have is expanding, Aquarius. The aspect of, you know, that conjunction to Scott is activating good fortune in your I have house, which is amazing. We have Jupiter. I like Jupiter in your fifth house. I like Jupiter in your fifth house because the fifth house is the Dharma house, right? And the fifth house is about good karma coming back to you, and then there's that good fortune energy. So I just feel like you're being you're being thrown with good energy, right? Some of you, this could be where you use your occult interest or your psychic interest to bring in more money to you, right? And maybe before, this is something that you kind of kept quiet. Tell a few people things that you know, things that you've been studying, but this could be where, because of that fifth house that has to do with expression, and business and hobbies and skills, this could be where you're putting it out more. Now, I will say for some of you all, this could be where you want to use what you have to have more fun, to have more luxury, to have more romance in your life. But perhaps you're questioning whether you should spend your money on this or not, because Saturn has been there, and Saturn has definitely been forcing you to budget. Okay, you need to have lasting happiness. Okay, so I think sometimes that sacrifice is necessary there to now, don't take financial advice from me, this is for entertainment purposes, disclaimer. Okay, but definitely put more time into having more fun, especially if you've been working hard, right? I just feel like it's going to be challenging for you because Jupiter is there in your fifth house, and it's kind of forcing you to think big picture. But at the same time, you deserve to have a little bit of fun, don't you, Aquarius? Now, a child could be a part of the story because you do have fifth house there. And so this could be where some of you all are looking at what you have and see, is this enough to support a child? Okay, or you find out that you're expecting, and then you're thinking about, you know, do I have to sell certain things, or do I need to start to try to earn more to support this child? Or if you already have an existing child, it's like, okay, how can I have what I use to support this child in a way that is beneficial, right? And lastly, Pisces, to start the show. Pisces, this is happening in your first house with a square to Jupiter in your fourth house. So things are changing for you all on the home front, but it's a positive. Jupiter is there, right? This is positive. It's a benefit that is involved, and Jupiter is your ruler. So Jupiter will do what is best for you regardless. Let me tell you how this could play out. And this is 444 as I'm seeing this. And this is purely like just an example, okay? My son is a Pisces rising. This is happening 1 degree of his ascendant. And I'm pretty sure I don't even have that much Pisces placement watching this video anyways. So most of you might not see this. And so this is happening in his fourth house, which does have to do with his home life. and he just met his biological dad a few days ago, last week, Friday or Thursday, some day last week, for the second time. The first time he met him, he was like a 2 months old, and now he's met him again when he's 3 years old. So that's creating a bit of change for him in his home life, but his home life is expanding because the people that he knows as family is expanding, and this would only be at the end of the day to his benefit, to know all of who he is, which is represented by the first house, the identity. So I say all that to say, Pisces, things are changing in your foundation, your home, that is changing your identity. If you are a Pisces of childbirth bearing age, this could be a time where you bring a child into the world because the asteroid child is activated there in your first house. Okay, this could be a time where you're learning much more about your family line, and maybe that they have intuitive gifts and abilities, that they have interest in the occult, and that changes your identity, not in the way that it changes you as a person, but it allows you to embrace more of who you are and feel more comfortable. Or this could be where you're sharing this part of yourself to your family, and this is you stepping out of your comfort zone because you don't know how they would accept it. Okay, that square, that challenge, that discomfort. Good fortune and personal charm is being activated for you also. You're fine for the next 6 months. You're safe, you're blessed. You know, Saturn has been there in your first house, but it demands on you. And I feel this is gonna ease it a bit for you. The North Node is also there in your first house. So right now you're the ones who are purpose driven in terms of the way that you will be presenting or asserting yourself into the world. And I just love that Scott is activated here because it gives you a sense of charm that makes you more digestible to people who may ordinarily see Pisces people as, though ethereal, weird in their what it is that they want in life. This is also bringing you lasting happiness. Definitely pay attention to your dreams. Okay, your home could be expanding. Some of you could be moving, especially if you have your floating IC in your 4th house, and this, especially if it's around 9 to 12 degrees or 13 degrees of Gemini, there is some definite changes that are happening there for you. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I hope that this was helpful. Until next time, be blessed.